We'll bow our heads in prayer. Blessed us, O Lord, and these gifts which we are about to receive in thy bounty, and grant that we, as group of Rotarians, must be more particular as individuals, may accept the ways willingly and be worthy of the wondrous dignity that thou hast established in the nature of man. Grant also that this world may enjoy the peace forever. And a little blessing to all those that are traveling this week. I know a lot of Rotarians are doing some nice vacation trips with their families. So may they be safe. With that, we pray. Amen. We stand and say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the four-way test: is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendship? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you. You can have a seat. Do I have any happy dollars today? Yes, Shannon.
I wanted to bring this up to you guys. When a couple of months ago, we had Heather Wiseman here that spoke about the C&T Foundation and her sons. They're having another benefit. It's called Strike for a Cause. So if anybody is interested in bowling, it's May 3rd. So it's a family-friendly event. So there's that. And I have some of those. But also, if you happen to have a business, we are looking for some gift card donations. So your business might not be one that can give gift cards, but if you have a gift card and you want to donate it on behalf of your business, we're looking for those. Anything between $5 to $50 is what we're looking for those. And if you can come, or you want to buy tickets for somebody else, I'm going to pass these around. But I think this is, you heard Heather speak and how it has really affected her kids, and her youngest son has had more and more complications as it comes. They are using their donations for other children, though. That's the amazing thing. Most of this is not even for them, except for the research, but some of the other things, and it's around the community. So if you would like some of these, I will hand them around. If you want a business one, let me know.
Thank you. Any other happy dollars? Yes, Glenn.
I'm happy that we're going back into space. Going around the moon tonight. The launch station, 4 people around the moon for the first time since 1972. I worked on the NASA program in 1972.
Wow. That's pretty exciting. You have to talk to us about that someday. Anyway, any other happy dollars? Okay. Do we have a song? Songmeister. He's got his mouth full. All right. What do we got?
This is going to be great. We're going to do first those 2 tables, and then the 2 of us right here, and then the 3rd table. Row, row, Rotary. It's for you and me. Grab a friend and join right in for our community. Just like row your boat. Row, row, Rotary. Okay?
This will be a hot mess. I can
So everybody up those 2 tables first. We'll kick in, and then the 3rd table we'll do 2 rounds. Okay? The last part. Join right in for our community. Grab a friend and join right in for our community. Rhymes with you and me. Or would you rather do the Beatles? Okay, well, Turbo talked me into it. We'll do Rotary. 2, 3, 4. Row, row, Rotary. Row, row, Rotary.
Row, row, Rotary. For you and me. Grab a friend and join right in for our Rotary.
Rotary.
Row, Rotary. Grab a friend in our community.
Uh, all right. We have a couple guests here today. We have our beautiful exchange students, Maria and Serena, are here to grace our presence with us today. Thank you for coming. Always great to see you. And they have about as much time left here as I do as president. So how about that? Not long. Short timer. No, I'm not counting days. No, not yet. Okay, and we have Brittany? Bridget. Bridget over here, which is Tom Edwards'
After she
daughter.
stands up, I'm gonna introduce
Okay.
her. Bridget Edwards, this is my nephew Tom, and this is his daughter. She's getting married in August.
Hey. Okay. Couple notes. We have. I thought this past week was the last week we could add a member and make the 8 for 8 weeks, 8 new members in 8 weeks, and we're at 7. We have another week. I was guessing when Kevin got inducted, and so we have another week now. So if you have somebody in mind, now's a good time to do it. We put our name in a hat for $1,000 from the district. That would look nice in our bank account. And I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of competition. That's just my gut feeling. So if we're the only one, we win, right? And we might be. All right. Friday, I'll pass these around. Promoting lots of stuff. Pass it on to the next table until it goes around. This is a flyer from the Plain Township Rotary Club. They're having an event on April 10th. The Harlem Wizards is a basketball team, apparently like the Globetrotters, except they're the Harlem Wizards. They're going to play Glen Oak High School team at Glen Oak at 7 p.m. So if you like that kind of entertainment, Rotary, you can take a picture of the QR code if you'd like to go. All right. Speaking of new members, we have 2 new members. Most recently, they haven't had a chance to tell us about themselves. And so who wants to go first? Tristan or Hannah? Hannah wants to go first. Everybody give a round of applause for Hannah.
Okay, I wrote down notes because I don't like talking in front of people. I'm Hannah Rich. I am a Louisville graduate in 2010. I then went to Stark State and graduated as a dental hygienist, and I have an associate's in science. I practiced dental hygiene for about 7 years, and then I decided to stay home with my 2 boys. They are 9 and 7, and I homeschool them. So I started, kind of a little about me, I'm obsessed with coffee. I actually started roasting my own coffee, and I opened up a coffee shop, now have a mobile trailer, and I'm going to open up a coffee shop again. It's going to be a drive-through, but so I started roasting on my countertop in 2021, and I opened up my first shop in 2023, closed it at the end of 2024 because the building was not very suitable and employees can be difficult. So I went mobile, and that's been fun and dandy, but I've been looking for a spot to open up a drive-through, and I don't know if you all heard, Romeo's just closed down across from Pizza Hut, so that will be my building. And we're going to knock out that side window and make it a drive-through. So hoping to open in August and expand my roasting part of things. My husband is Corey Rich, and he and I are born and raised in Louisville. I also recently joined the chamber in October, and I became secretary of the chamber last month. I'm passionate about small businesses, and I feel Louisville could do a little more, and so I'm hoping to make an impact with that.
Great, thank you.
Please don't ask questions. I don't know, he raised his hand.
I did not hear you address of your new coffee shop.
1338. It's Chapel in that Chapel Plaza right by Tony Hibachi. And that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, Romeo's Pizza.
Okay, thank you.
You can do
Was.
that. They weren't there long. Okay, Tristan Stutler.
I also wrote down some notes, but I enjoy public speaking, so. All right, I'd first like to thank President Dutter and all of you Rotarians for the warm welcome for the past couple of months for me coming. It truly does mean a great deal to me to join such a fantastic group of people. That was one of the big reasons why I wanted to join the Rotary. Is there's so many fantastic people that I can learn from. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Tristan Stutler. Some of you may have recognized me. This past November, I ran for the Board of Education. That experience really strengthened my interest in our fantastic community we have here and in public service. It gave me an opportunity to meet so many wonderful people like you. I am currently attending Altman College of Nursing. It's right next to the hospital. It's a 4-year nursing program. That's why I'm in scrubs, and most of the time during the noon meetings, I'm in scrubs. I also just decided that I'm going to go to Stark State College to obtain a degree in political science, just for fun. I mean, nursing isn't hard enough, so you got to do some more schooling, you know? I hope to bring the spirit of service, energy, and willingness to help out wherever I can. I'm really looking forward to learn from all of you and contribute in a great way for all that Rotary does for our community here. Rotary's motto is service above self, and that idea has always meant a lot to me, and I am grateful for the opportunity to live by that principle alongside all of you fellow Rotarians. So thank you very much.
Jim Edwards, we had to make a change in our scheduling because we wouldn't have a quorum on the 31st for our board meeting. And therefore, we couldn't have our business meeting today. And therefore, we couldn't have our chamber, couldn't switch to today. And so we were desperate. We had to find a speaker. And Jim Edwards always comes through. So I don't know how hard your arm got twisted.
I have a better speaker too, coming in a couple of weeks. He hasn't left yet. Okay. Tommy graduated. This is my nephew, Thomas W. Edwards V. All right, and he graduated in about 84. Am I close?
1983.
83.
You were about
Okay.
1920.
Just checking. I deserve this. Anyway, after graduation, he went to Ohio Northern. He graduated from Louisville, and then he went to Ohio Northern and graduated in business, I assume.
Finance.
Okay, I wasn't sure. He played basketball for Ohio Northern because of this. All right, and after that, he came back, worked for my father's accounting office for a year, maybe two, and then took over for Rod Bachbrader. He bought his insurance business on the corner of Mill Street. Palmier's Insurance is what we used to call it, but on the corner of Mill and Main, right there, across from Cindy's old bowling alley. All right, and Tommy, I'd like you to take over. He's going to speak on the insurance industry and the new things that are coming up.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
So I knew he was desperate. I just didn't know how desperate he was. And back in the day, since I was a Rotarian way in the past, we called them Minutemen. We just needed somebody to stand up and talk for 20 minutes. So I assume the clock is running.
You got 33 minutes.
Yeah. But yeah, if you'd have told me 35 years ago that I would have made a living here in town, I'd laughed. And I see Nicole in here working for Scooter, guy I grew up with. I would have laughed and said, I'll never raise a family here. But after all this time, I don't regret 1 minute of that. And it's mostly because all these people in here, you know, Mark, you didn't miss your calling as a band director. Good. But yeah, I did work for Grandpa for 2 years and then bought the insurance agency in 1995. So been there ever since. So I'm coming up really on 38 years doing insurance, which is obviously one of the most exciting jobs ever. Doc already gave me his earful on medical insurance, which I don't do, by the way, just because it's so dissatisfying. Right now, starting on the state of insurance for what's going on. Right now, the insurance business is kind of probably the most aggressive and the most unstable it's been in 40 years. We're dealing with a ton of storms from the last 3 years. Preceded by the COVID issue where companies were actually refunding money. This is just P&C, by the way, not medical, because medical insurance stuff is a whole new ballgame. But during that COVID time, companies were refunding money, and I thought that was a huge mistake because then 2 years later they had to bounce them up because they were losing money, which made for double-digit increases across the board. Right now, after the last 3 years in record storms going through, we're seeing weather events. Even this month, we've had 3 already. You're seeing homeowners rates going through the roof. I'm going to focus on homeowners because that seems to be our biggest problem. Auto insurance has been pretty stable for the first time in my career. And, you know, it is expensive to repair vehicles, but, you know, fender benders are fender benders. So, but anyways, homeowners, everybody here probably has homeowners of some form or another. We have probably had more changes in that product line in 4 years than most companies did in 20 years. Really, the underwriting for homeowners being starting with credit scoring, you know, the poor credit and higher right pricing doesn't make sense to me, but it statistically does. So people that have that, you know, credit blemish, you know, they end up paying twice as much for homeowners insurance. And, you know, unfortunately, I can't change rate, but I do try to find the right product for people doing that. The second thing we're dealing with is packaging. You know, it used to be a standalone homeowners policy was fine. Companies nowadays just don't want to do it. And if your auto doesn't fit there, they just tell you, go somewhere else. They really don't care. And when underwriting gets tight, and pricing starts escalating, it's kind of a double-edged sword for people. Right now, we're kind of doing a year-end study, and for the simple count, we have more people paying more for homeowners than auto for the first time ever. So, you know, a guy paying $2,000 for homeowners and $1,500 for auto just never happened, and now it's not that way. So it's definitely rolled over, but the homeowners being the problem. Start number one with insurance to value. You know, what does it cost to rebuild a house if it burns down? You know, those numbers coming up on $250, $300 a square foot. You know, a little, I'll say a little 1,000 square foot home could be $300,000, $400,000 to rebuild it. And excuse me, finding a contractor to come and do the work is your next problem. You know, a lot of small contractors had to like pull out, go work for somebody else, you know, as a sub. So you can't find the guy to come and do one window, one door. You know, just they're hard. Tradesmen are hard to come by. And then the top end coverage is also driving pricing point up. You know, a lot of customers complain because it's $400,000 for a house that's worth $200,000. You know, it doesn't make sense to do that. But if you decide to walk away from the house, they don't owe the $400,000. They just owe the market value. So they're actually happy if you leave and vacate the property. Most people choose to rebuild. Unfortunately, we do have a few fires that I'll say we're disastrous, and I would never enjoy watching people lose everything. So it's like, when you see them go through the rebuilding process and then the claims beating that gets put in place, that's not fun to watch. But that's what insurance is for. The water damage stuff, which is the second claim situation, that's a problem. The difference between sewer backups and then water bursting from a pipe. They're both totally different, but devastating. The amount of water damage that happens in a frozen pipe situation, just off the chart. So we're seeing a lot of claims in the 40, 50,000, just from ceilings, walls, floors, warped cabinets. By the time you're done with it, you got to sanitize and get the mold out. It's just crazy numbers that we're seeing. And then, the last part that we're dealing with is roof. And I don't know anybody who has roof claims or what's going on. Excuse me. Roofs are getting handled right now many, many different ways. Some companies are going to a split deductible, where they're saying, okay, we're going to do $1,000 for fire, $2,500 for wind and hail. Some companies are going to a percentage of dwelling. So, 2% of a $400,000 house is an $8,000 deductible. With that going on and the wind going on right now, people are getting told they have $8,000 deductible. And they're like, I can't cover that. So now all of a sudden they got to let the claim go away, not fix it, which is causing problems for the mortgage company. I mean, it's just a disaster where we're at. State Farm, Allstate, Nationwide, I don't pick on any companies, but when you get into roof settlements, they're starting in on percentage and depreciation, which back when I started, everything was full coverage. Everything got replaced when a claim happened. Now, if you got a 10-year-old roof and it's 2 years old, they only owe you for the last 8 years. You throw in a house with a 20-year roof and 10 plus the deductible, a lot of times there's not much of a claim going on. And people are like, well, what am I buying insurance for? Well, and it's been really dissatisfying for people. And I can't change that, but making people aware, what they're buying for a lot of money is basically where I'm at. It's what we do. But watching deductibles on renewal, because the companies are allowed to change them without telling you, they do make a note. But when you get down to it, you're responsible for looking at your own coverage. When you pay the bill, you actually accept that. So it does cause a lot of grief when people, don't know what they're buying, which is hard. So the other thing with houses and the current situation with trees going down, my tree on the neighbor's yard, my tree on the neighbor's car, it's very difficult to see those claim settlements go through, but you almost got to handle every case differently. And unfortunately, there's always somebody not happy, especially when it comes to cleaning them up. Because you get a lot of money just to clean a tree up after it goes down. If it doesn't hit anything, probably totally on your own. So, anyways, with the homeowner side, being packaged and, dealing with the disaster that they're in, companies are actually starting to pull out in Ohio. You start talking about Florida claims and Texas claims. Ohio's kind of zeroing in on that right now, where companies don't want to do business here on a home. And I'm hoping that turns around, but we're off to a 2026. It's not so good. So who knows how it's going to go. As we move into more of a storm state like Oklahoma and Texas, it could even get worse down the road. And, and the companies are at that point where they'll just say, we can't make money here. We're just going to pull out, which is what they did in Florida. And there are no companies doing business down there. So everybody goes to the government fund. Then a storm happens, and then everybody's got to fund it. It's a disaster down there.
Tommy, regarding that, what's going to happen with the Florida coastline homes that are 2 feet above water, and every 8 years the water is in the home? Yeah,
they're when COVID hit here, the average price for homeowners insurance down in Florida was like I'm going to say $7,000. And right now, if you buy a $500,000 home, you're looking at over $1,000 a month. So $12,000 to $15,000 for insurance. And that probably won't include flood, And if you're not in the right flood zone down there, you're probably another 5,000 or 6,000. Keep in mind that same thing. Their deductibles are gigantic.
Explain the flood coverage down there. I think you can buy, you help me.
Flood is all done by the federal government. It's not done by independent insurance guys. So the government actually rates it and determines acceptability and determines flood zone. So when you're on the coastal in Naples or Miami, if you're like 5 feet above sea level at high tide, well, you got one rate. If you're 6 feet, it's another rate. And as it goes inland, it goes lower. But you start talking about fire and wind and flood being 25,000 a year to insure it, you're getting into a big number. And what's happening is most people pay cash for the house, finance their property somewhere else to do so, and then buy a deductible that's 50,000. So you got the same thing as a wind and hail deductible might be 3% of 500,000. It's $15,000. Put a new roof on for 20. So you're really not getting a whole lot of coverage for your money anyway, which is basically what's going on down there. I don't know that that's going to turn around. I'm advising my people to buy condos down there because associations can buy insurance way cheaper than regular homeowners. But the homeowners market, even I know the Villages is having trouble. You got like 600 homes on the market. I know there's like 40,000 homes in that place, but yeah, they're definitely values in Florida are starting to go down, and mostly because of insurability. My favorite's in the Keys, and basically if you can't pay cash for a house down there, you just can't afford it. So you're putting yourself at risk for the whole value of the house. But that's the way it's going down there. So, but yeah, we're not there in Ohio, but these windstorms and claims history that's going on is definitely causing alarm. People don't have typically compassion for an insurance company who they think make a lot of money. But when it comes down to it, they're the same thing. They got to be profitable just like everybody else. And I'm part of that expense portion of that, so I really can't explain, whether they're making money and I'm making money, but it's bad. Jim mentioned umbrella quickly. I'm sure everybody sees the Tim Misney ads where they'll make you pay, whatever. Probably the best advertisement to go get an umbrella because it might be something little that turns big, and the umbrella just really gives you an extra cushion on top of that. We have one big umbrella claim going right now, but a little 12-year-old kid got hurt on property, and once again, it's what insurance is for when people actually get hurt. But it's the ones who didn't get hurt and still want $5 million is the problem. Anyways, I'm sure we all have specific questions about their own stuff, which you never want to do. But if you got a general question on insurance, go ahead and shoot them at me.
So where is it going to end up? You have a crystal ball?
I wish I did. As far as like my section of the whole insurance world, the agency side, we had probably 10 years ago a online threat, not a threat, but people could go buy their insurance online. And we lost a few to that. But in the long run, people still wanted to talk to somebody when they're spending $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a year. They just have a problem pushing the 1-800 button. They don't quite have the confidence to say, yeah, this is right. So they end up leaving, coming back. I actually went to Seattle on an insurance buyers seminar, and that's what they decided as well. The consumer who jumps on, gets a rate, buys it 6 months later when they haven't taken care of a bank transition or they have a higher deductible on a windshield or whatever, they end up calling an agent back. So I need somebody to see this. And, it is when people sit down and look at it and you're spending $5,000, $6,000 a year on insurance, and, you have somebody you can call, you will. If you're spending $5,000, $6,000 on your electric bill, you can't call anybody. So it's one of those items that you can actually call and try to help yourself through it. But it costs a lot, and people spend a lot of money on insurance across the board. I mean, between health insurance, life insurance, auto, home, it's a big number. So, needless to say, a lot of people look at it bottom line right now when finances are tight.
I have two questions. First question, what insurances do you deal with? Just car and home? Or do you do others?
As an independent agent, I've actually got contracts with 7 carriers. But finding a product right now, like I said, is actually a very difficult thing because none of my 7 really want to do homeowners. And then if you got one blemish on your auto, like a speeding ticket, it gets bounced around. And but I have 7 contracts for selling their product. And then I've got 2 brokerage agreements so I can go find something if I need to. But anytime you broker something, you have another middleman because I'm actually buying it from another agent.
Next question, a friend of mine who does not live in this state had just recently changed insurance companies, and she had something happen where they were sending drones out to map out their whole property and ended up finding all these things that she tried to combat, tried to talk with them and say, that's not true. I don't see, and they had their own inspectors come out and they were to try to raise the rates. Are you seeing that going to be a trend
boy.
more and more?
Yeah, actually, rejections are our problem. The drone thing, as well as Google Maps satellite imagery. If I do a home and they see a trampoline on the premises, it's an auto decline, and most of the time it's a prior owner. Because when we're underwriting, it's usually on an acquisition. So we got to say that's a prior owner. Well, they make me go out and validate it. So now I got to go to the site. And then the drone thing, this storm chaser stuff that's going on just from the 13th, Friday the 13th was a bad day. They're flying drones over roofs to check for hail damage and wind damage. And I just saw in Canton, there was a guy called the police and shot one out of the sky. Well, they say that it was looking in the neighbor's window. And so the drone liability is a big deal for us right now. But, I got 2 carriers that are just going drone underwriting, not just claims viewing, but where they'll fly a drone over somebody's house and identify whether the roof's still good. And if it's no good or one shingle's missing, either out or excluded. So yeah,
That's a trend that's going to continue,
it's not going away.
and there's no way to combat it as a homeowner.
Well, electrical systems are probably the next biggest thing they're catching is you can't see that with a drone. But if the house is built in the 60s, you got a chance of the wiring being insufficient. And now you got to actually go in. You electrical guys. But it's actually a big underwriting. As soon as they see a 60s, they want to know that the wiring's up to date.
They don't burn until you put electric in.
Well, they don't leak till you get flooded until pipes in it either. But yeah, the electrical systems are just starting to, I'll say, underwrite heavier, which means you got to go in. And a lot of people don't like the invasive underwriting of going in a house. Aside from the drones, all states doing this too, and I don't think it's a bad idea. But they'll have you self-underwrite. They'll say, okay, here's the app. We need a picture of your service box. We need a picture of your main water feed, your furnace. They want to see windows, roofs, driveways, trip and falls, handrails. I mean, by the time you get to done with it, you submitted 50 pictures. They can find one to bounce you. Everybody's got that. Yeah, Mark.
T-Bone, so between you and Mia, our attorney, the neighbor has a tree. It hangs over on my property. And this is speaking for a friend.
No coverage. No coverage.
That's not on mine.
Yeah.
But, so if the tree comes down and, first of all, it comes down, who cleans it up? Secondly, if it damages something, is it mine or his insurance? And if it's already hanging over my property and I'm gonna have to pay for it, that means I can take my chainsaw and trim it off. I leave that up to you and our attorney,
Yeah.
our club attorney, me.
Trees are a notorious problem for us, and different from when I was a kid. I'm actually in my grandfather's house right now, so I just took a tree down that I planted 60 years ago. But and it cost a fortune, a lot more than putting it in because we picked it up from the Harrisburg farm. But trees, anyways, it is not an easy subject. But the bottom line is, if you want coverage for a tree falling on your house, you buy it. Doesn't matter whose tree it is. City ordinance comes into play where at the property line and straight up, you can whack it. Obviously, in my day, Dad would tell me go out and help Mr. Holsworth clean up a tree. You know, you go help your neighbor. Now, who's paying? So, but the tree, when you cut it at the property line, the tree that fell onto the property, you cut it, anything on your property is your problem. Anything on theirs is theirs. Usually the stump is on one property and the tree's on another. So, you know, you basically, as soon as that line hits, you're there. So, you know, the cleanup is really expensive and the damage to the neighbor's house is not your problem. Except, lawyers love that, right? If you've notified that neighbor that there's a threat to your house by that tree, then he has a liability to you. So you can, in fact, make your neighbor responsible for that tree if you notify him properly, which is what I advise people to do. You can't cut the tree on his side, but you can protect yourself from a claim. You can't protect yourself from damage. So you can kind of transfer that responsibility, but you know, it's all challengeable when you get down to it. Shorty.
Progressive advertising more than anybody on TV. Are they the biggest?
I think they just approached State Farm as number one. I'm not sure they passed them yet.
Who owns Progressive? I heard it was owned by the Japanese.
When I started, it was a guy named Peter Lewis, but it was not owned by foreign entities. But I wouldn't be surprised if it
I
is.
heard it is owned by foreign now.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you that. I do represent them, and you know they do a lot of good stuff, but they also do a lot of not so good stuff. But you know you're gonna find out with every carrier. You know their underwriting right now is very aggressive to get you insured with them, but they're likely to bounce rates around. They're unstable. But you know when they're really lowering their rate right now to get you to come on, you know, do you go chase a rate or do you just sit tight? Well, I'm not one to move people quick, so you know I'd say sit tight until you restabilize this market because it's really unstable. So, but State Farm is still the biggest, I believe, and a lot of the companies are doing, they call them Me Too filings. So when State Farm makes this roof adjustment, a lot of the companies are going to follow suit. So once everybody starts getting on that bandwagon, all my companies are handling it different. And then next year, it could be a whole new ballgame. Used to take 10 years to get things through, but now it takes 10 months. So things are really fast to change. So I'm afraid to ask the lawyer.
I'm lost. I'm not there yet.
Okay. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say that first, thank you for coming out and thank you for addressing the situation with the whether your actual cash value or the depreciation. I hope everybody heard that, and I'm an example of that. I had a company for 15 years, not State Farm or Progressive, but I won't mention names. I don't want to get sued, but it is the truth. I had one insurance, and then when they renewed to keep the rates similar, they changed my insurance policy, and it was like a very little tiny disclaimer on the back of the 50th or 150th page, and they said, well, it was right there on that page, and it went to the depreciation value. Unfortunately, that next year, I had a 250-foot pine fall on the perimeter of my house, and needless to say, it was right down my neighbor's house and my house, so it was both of our tree, but my insurance didn't pay for it because it was depreciation value for my roof. My roof was 9.5 years old. My house was just barely under 4,000 square feet. So $25,000 later out of pocket, I had to pay for my new roof and $3,000 to cut up the vine.
It's a burden that's crazy.
Read your policies.
Yeah, and you know, once again, it's not, they are allowed to change on the fly, and the fine print is what we're always famous for. Those changes in deductibles and loss settlement, which is the ACV issue, they're allowed to change that on the fly. And you know, frankly, two companies right now, if your roof's over 15 years old, it's an auto decline. We don't even want to talk to you. So hopefully that's going to lighten up over time, but we're not sure where it's going. I personally have a couple that I can't rewrite to another company and get a better coverage on the roof. So it's like I'm kind of got my hands tied too with my product line. So I do my best to tell people you do have a lot of difference in policy. Even though the rate didn't change, your benefits are probably a lot lower. So, I mean, that's unfortunate, but I mean, I can't reinvent the insurance wheel, but it's spinning out of control right now.
I'm just glad I didn't have a total loss. That would have been out homeless.
Probably been better off. You've probably been better off than have a partial loss, frankly. But no, it's the inconvenience is horrible. I'm telling you, it's bad.
How can they change your deductible without notifying you?
Well, they notify
Isn't that
you.
against the law?
Well, actually, they have to file that with the state of Ohio, and the state has to approve how they do it. And it might be the fine print on the 50th page, like she's saying, but it's still
We
fine.
don't ever get a new, necessarily get a new printout or a new mail to us.
You should get a new one every time a policy renews. And it's supposed to have a page that identifies differences, but a lot of people never read those 50 pages. So, Jimba.
Tom, as you know, a good friend of ours lost his home north of Akron, all right, years ago. And I'd like you to explain the difference between replacement cost and full coverage. Because we all think, oh, we got full coverage. We all say that. What's the language we need to look for on that policy to determine whether we have replacement cost or full?
Yeah, since that event, which was in 1995, first year I bought the agency, they no longer use the full replacement value. They have an enhanced replacement value that limits the total loss. So, in that case, a $500,000 house, the most they would pay would be 125% of that, so 625,000. But in the old days, they would have a full guaranteed replacement cost. It didn't matter if it cost $3 million. So when underwriting was light, they didn't know what they had out there. It was an issue. Nowadays, companies pay a lot of attention to estimated replacement cost. So that's what determines your coverage A, your dwelling amounts. It has nothing to do with market value. You can never associate your insurance with market value. So the intent is to rebuild.
Okay, I don't think you answered. Maybe you did, I didn't hear it. My question is, what language do I look for on my policy to determine which I have?
Usually it's called an extended replacement cost on homes now, and it'll say like additional 25% in excess of the coverage level. That's probably all the best you're going to see on it. You'll never see a guaranteed replacement cost as is.
Really?
Yeah, probably never. But when you get into like, okay, you had a 3,500 square foot house, as soon as you bump it up to 3,600 on the rebuild, you're on that last 100 square feet. So they're really critical on the replacement cost side. So if you change anything, different walls, bigger rooms, you're probably going to be out of pocket with some stuff. It was a lot more generous 30 years ago than it is now. So 30 years ago, they were like actually compassionate with their customer to get them back in the house. Now they're trying to save money, limit their loss.
Thank you.
So, David.
Tom, last time you were here, you told us about how all the new cars have a computer in them that talks to the dealership. And you warned that the day was coming when insurance companies would be buying that information from dealerships to set rates. Are you there yet?
I would say we're almost there. I do not subscribe to the monitored driving because I don't like people seeing what I'm doing any more than anybody else. But the data that's being gathered right now from even 5 years ago, probably since I talked, you had an onboard chip that you put in and it monitored you. Then they converted over to doing it through your cell phone, which how they know which car you're driving. I don't know how they figure this out, how fast you're going, how hard you're braking. And now they're actually hooking straight into the ECMs on cars. So Tesla's been doing it since they started making cars. But most of these EVs now are actually reporting data. It's a little controversial because whose data is it? To me, it should be part of the privacy. Where you're driving and what time of day and how fast. You know, but it's going to come down to the fact that a guy who does more than 20 hard brakes per 100 is aggressive, and they're going to rate for that. But you know, like my cars are 18s, and they probably can't report that, but 26s absolutely can.
Yeah.
So we're kind of in a big transition window, but you know, they're trying to hook out through the data the best they can. All that technology is costing a fortune to fix. I mean, a little fender bender to a pole could be $5,000 by the time you have to recalibrate everything.
Yeah.
I mean, windshields, like the Tesla windshield's $2,500 because you have to recalibrate all the sensors. So yeah, that's going to be worse, but they charge for it. You know, if they're rating for it, it's fine. But yeah, that's going to be monitored driving, cost per mile. Probably not during my lifetime as an insurance agent, but
One more question. Going once, going twice.
perfect.
Have a great week. Thank you.
Thank you so much.